All right. Man, I'm going to tell you what, our fans showed up tonight, or today, I should say. They showed up and showed out, and they were a huge factor in the game. We're thankful for that. You know, good SEC football game out there today. You know, I think it came down to the things it typically does. You know, he rushed the ball for 159 yards to their 53. The turnover margin was 2-2. DJ was 180 quarterback rating. Played really clean for the most part. We got off the field 3 out of 11, and we stayed on the field 7 out of 14. And blocked the punt. Taylor Spirito, who was a walk-on in year one here, who's earned a scholarship, was a spark tonight and made a huge play. And how about that freshman receiver, Dallas Wilson, going off and setting about every record that there is for a rookie. So, in general, we had 4 sacks. I thought we limited the run game. We affected the quarterback, covered them pretty good. That's a good team. You know, they got a lot of resources in Texas, and they put together one heck of a football team. And I would say for me, that's the football team I thought we had in the very beginning. And we finally kind of put it together there and played all 3 phases. Very complimentary. I mean, all parts of the team really good. We started fast. That was a huge emphasis in the game. Got the crowd into it. And, man, you got to give these kids some credit. You know, I think nowadays in college athletics, maybe there's a little bit of a black eye about the sport, what it can teach, what locker rooms are like. And I can only speak for ours. I'm not giving up on team, and that's a football team. And I'm humbled to be a part of it. And for them to do what they've done over the last couple of weeks, I think is to be commended in today's world, right? They didn't blame anybody else. They took ownership, and they went back to work. And it's been a challenge. You know, you guys know because you write about it every day. But, you know, we handled some adversity. This is just the beginning here. We got a lot more games just like that when it gets really good teams in the future. So we've handled adversity. Now can we handle a little bit of success? I think that'll be really important. So in general, I'm extremely proud of the staff and the players for the way they held together and the work that was done in the open date. A DJ battled through the injury today. You know, he had a little bit of a leg injury that we'll know more about. But in general, I thought he was kind of back in that mode that he was in at the end of the year last year where he was playing immobile and for the most part was a great leader, a great teammate, and was very effective today. Go Gators. What questions we got here?
I mean, not only DJ's best game of the season, arguably of his career, even with that injury. Is this a reflection of what you saw in the bye week, or just what do you take from this performance from him?
Well, I think he's a great teammate, and I think what motivates him is doing his job for his guys. You know, that's one of the things these guys kept saying, my guys, right? And I think, you know, let's take our guys and go beat him and his guys, if that makes sense. And I think ultimately that's when he's at his best, you know, when that's consuming him and he's grinding throughout the week and he's studying the opponent. He's taking care of himself. He's working in practice. He flips that switch and kind of gets into that competitive spirit in practice. And I think we kind of saw it Wednesday of this week. I would say it was the first time I kind of saw he can kind of get in that place, you know, as a competitor. I kind of saw that, and you kind of saw it out there tonight. So, in general, I think he's a great teammate and one that he wants to be loyal, wants to come through for his guys. And I think ultimately that's what showed up out there today.
And you mentioned handling adversity in the past, handling success in the future. But just today, like, how relieving is this for you and this team in there after what's been endured the last month?
Yeah, I think the challenge will be how we handle this, you know. I think it's going to be extremely important that you got to wake up in the morning and wash all this off, you know. Same people that talk bad about you are going to be talking good about you, and can you handle that, right? I think that's the challenge in sport is to be consistent, to be process-oriented, to be motivated by the right things, and not have a letdown going forward. So, look, that's a really good team, but just start looking ahead here, every team is going to be a challenge. And I think football at this level is turning into that. You got to be ready to play every week.
Billy, you alluded to Dallas Wilson, long-awaited debut. He lived up to it. But the 55-yard touchdown in particular, did that just kind of encapsulate his skill set? I mean, he catches the ball, tight ropes, runs over guys.
Yeah. He is he's a big physical player. He's got unique play strength, big frame. Just a total creature from a testing perspective. And then he has a competitive spirit that's second to none. I mean, he turns it up. And I'm going to tell you, his energy, I think, was a spark this week. In practice, I mean, he was just doing what he did out there today and really elevated. The energy went to a different level. And he's got a great spirit about him. He's fun to be around. He's got a sense of humor. And, yeah, he's a great competitor on game day. That's his first game in a uniform here.
And that just kind of physicality on that play. I mean, the team in general, what did you feel about just the physicality? From the opening drive where you guys went 84 yards, the defense right out of the gates, Tyreek with a tackle for loss, and you guys were all over Manning all day.
Yeah, no, I think that's who we have to be to win here. If you're going to win in this league, you got to be built in the trenches to go toe-to-toe. And we've been doing that on defense to some degree. I thought we did it consistently today. To hold them to 2 yards of rush, and I think we rushed the ball 37 times, and I don't think DJ ran it, right? So no quarterback involved there. So, yeah, that's the recipe that it's happened. It's worked for us in the past. We played to that formula today, and it worked for us. Our teams look like that when they're playing at their highest level. 8 years as a head coach. That's complimentary ball. That's what it should look like.
Billy, you alluded earlier in the week to starting fast and staying on schedule, and you were able to do that in that first touchdown drive. What did that do, you think, confidence-wise for the offense for the remainder of the game?
Yeah, and a good mix. I thought DJ did a nice job in that possession did a great job on third down. I think we were 50% on third down, way over that going into the 4-minute situations where we got stopped a couple times. Yeah, I think that getting 2 off to a good start, knowing they would feed off of him, getting 6 involved early, and then being able to rush the ball. 13 has got to be there's got to be a presence there with him. I thought Duke Clark stepped up in a major way today. I thought he was very effective for a rookie to be out there playing in that type of game. And look, in the kicking game, man, when you play Banks at Texas, it's toe-to-toe. It's real football. And I thought Joe Houston and his staff did a great job today. We blocked the punt. And certainly the specialists can be better at times, but overall the plan was really good. The specialist play needs to improve a little bit.
Coach, what's been the attitude of the defense kind of playing and holding the weight while the offense has kind of fought to come along a little bit? Just their growth week to week, kind of putting things together, and then kind of break out with the huge game, turnovers, sacks. Just what's their weekly mentality been as they prepare?
If you think about that side of the ball, there is some veteran presence there. There's some guys that have been a part of the program for a while. And look, these guys there's crossover relationships between the offense and the defense. And I think when our team is at its best, they're complementary. They're interacting throughout the game, throughout the week. We work against each other. I think it's important that we challenge each other. And I would say that defensive leadership has challenged, hey, look, we got to pick it up on offense, And, we watch all this tape together now. I do a summary of the game. It's usually about 40 plays. So they get to see the mistakes. They get to see the detail and the undisciplined play, the fundamental issues, the decision-making. So I think in general there's accountability there, and I think that's helped our team.
Billy, it's a line of scrimmage league, and tonight you guys dominated on both lines of scrimmage. They didn't sack DJ a single time. You run the ball well, and your rookies there on the defensive line played like McLeod played really, really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. In general, we knew. Look, every week in this league, that's the challenge. And we played. I mean, LSU and Miami are outstanding teams. So we played two of the better teams in the country already. And South Florida obviously has played well given their schedule. So I think in general we know what we're capable of. We know who we are. We know what we stand for in the locker room. We know what we're capable of. And it's healthy for that group to gain some confidence and see that they're capable of that. We're going to need to continue to play well in the line of scrimmage to beat the teams that are on the schedule the rest of the way.
Coach, you mentioned you were humbled by the guys in the locker room. What do you think it is about your guys, your staff, that, when your backs are against the wall like last year, like this year, that you guys come out and fighting?
Yeah, I think it's more of a big picture program, organizational philosophy, in terms of what we want our program to be about, the investment in people. We teach values. We prioritize education. We run a tight ship. We don't put up with crap. They're going to do what we ask them to do. And I think they have a healthy respect, and they chose us. They chose that experience. And I think that requires a certain character from that person to sign up for that. So to me, it's a reflection of the organization as a whole in terms of what we want the program to be about. And look, we cannot connect our identity to the outcome. I think it's important. Sometimes when we don't get the results we want, it's in our nature to compromise, to blame others and not be accountable, and who can be objective. And I think it's important not only for myself and our staff, but we got to be very consistent and fair. We have to define expectations for the players, and then we have to hold them accountable. And look, it's a game, right? And winning football looks a certain way, and you're going to lose if you play the way we played in the past. And I think that we got to keep it technical and show them, hey, this is how you get the result that you want. And they did that today.
Billy, the third down battle today, you guys were able to win. How satisfying was that, just coming off of Miami and the bye week, and how much emphasis you put on that?
Yeah, 7 of 11, I think, or 7 for 14, and that's with the last couple being 4-minute, and having to run it and punt it. So, look, I thought DJ was sharp. I thought the staff had a really good plan, and we kept it manageable. I don't know how many long yardage situations we had today. I know we had a holding penalty. We ended up throwing a screen on that one and ended up getting a big chunk back. So, yeah, you got to keep third down manageable, and that starts with good first and second down efficiency. Run the ball, good quarterback play, keep third down manageable, and when you get into the red area, you got to score. So look, that was a heck of a football game. Texas has got a really good team, and the guys in blue won today.
And then I asked you this week about the success Jaden and Jacoby had last year against Texas and trying to replicate that. Jacoby's out today. Just Jaden being able to carry the load that he did today, 27 carries, and be as productive as he was.
Yeah. I'm going to give him a sponge bath tomorrow, I can tell you that. No, you got a player like that, you got to give him his opportunities, I think that's our formula, When we're playing at our best, the guys up front are ready to go. They're mixing it up, and we're able to be physical. And there's a cumulative effect of that, and I think that we feed off of that. So he's a marquee back, and he deserves a number of carries each week.
Billy, congratulations on the victory again. And you had the bye week. So did you look at this past week as just, the prior week as just a reset on getting those 3 losses out of the way? What was the approach? And did they run basically the practices into this game the way that you wanted them to?
Yeah, no, I think we got good work done Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of the bye week. I think we obviously a little bit of a struggle early. And they're hurt, man. This is like you're putting the paddles on a bunch of 17 to 23-year-olds, trying to get them back to life. We went through that a couple weeks in a row. So got to have good people around you from a leadership standpoint to get that done. And the players got to be made of the right stuff. But I told them after the open date to go home for 2 days and, You got to really think about what you've experienced, what you've learned. Listen to the noise. Listen to it closely. And you got to know we got to know who we are, and we'll have an opportunity to change that narrative the next time we compete. So I wanted them to move forward. When they showed up Sunday, wash it off, flush it, forget about it, and let's focus on this 1 week at a time. And that's the key, is to get this age group to tomorrow will be a different set of challenges, right? So I think that consistency will be important. We got a good group of kids in there with some adults leading them. Like some of these guys who are vets around here have done a great job leading the pack.
Billy, when DJ makes his comment and gives his guarantee 2 weeks ago after a couple really rough games, obviously it can open him up to critique social media wise, good or bad. But as a coach, what was your initial thought on that? And obviously you thought he could follow through with it, but what did that do for you as a coach, if it did anything?
Yeah, I think DJ's speaking to his teammates indirectly, in my opinion. He wanted to make sure he didn't have a chance to say that in the locker room in that moment, but I think he wanted to make sure that they heard that. And look, I think the kid, there's a sincerity to this kid in terms of he chose the University of Florida, and he's all in, and he's on a mission to do special things here, and he's committed to that. So there's a certain level of pride there. And this kid has been through the gauntlet, this offseason, all right? I mean, there'll be a book wrote about this set of circumstances. So kid's tough. He has character. And I think that he is loyal, sometimes to a fault, but he works like no one else. And for him, this experience, that's kind of what I've been saying to him, is look, you're going to be playing the game for a long time. And there's going to be days like this. There's going to be weeks like this. Playing in this league, playing in the next league. Every team's a good team, and you're going to have bad days, and you got to have an identity independent of the game. And that's where his faith, he can stand on that, right? Where maybe someone else who doesn't have that foundation, he has that, and I think that makes him really unique.
Billy, on the final offensive drive, the timeout to avoid the 10-second runoff, can you just take us into that play, just what happened? I think a lot of people were a little confused with Texas not having any timeouts.
Yeah, no, the clock stops because our helmet came off, right? So we wanted to get our best tackle back in the game. We wanted to talk as a group about the third down play, and that's ultimately why we did it.
And then building off of that, your defense coming back out on the field for one final drive, a sack by George. How much are you, just proud of your defense for continuing to just rise to the occasion in moments like that?
Yeah, it's a special group, man. And they're good football players, but that's the easy part. I think the leadership over there and the ability to continue to show up and do their part for the team. And look, knowing the circumstance, knowing the struggle on the other side, for them to challenge the group, for them to maintain their character, for them to continue to work. And they practice that way, man. They've got a maturity about them. I think the coaches on that staff have done a fantastic job. Ron is exceptional. He's one of the best defensive minds in the game. And these, Chapman and Mike have been around the block here and been with us. And then certainly the three new guys have added another dimension to that side of the ball. So they've been ready to play every week so far. And we talked about establishing that here, knowing that's what it takes to win a championship. We finally paired it with a good offense today.
Last one. Yeah, just back to Arch Manning for a sec. What's just the challenge he poses? We saw his feet. We saw that one scoring drive late where it was like boom, boom, and they're in the end zone. And what did it take just to kind of perform the way you guys did against him? I mean, you guys were all over him most of the game.
Yeah, I think that, look, offensively, there's a lot of new faces over there, not just him. That's important. I mean, he's no different than any quarterback, right? I mean, you get all the blame, you get all the criticism. But in general, you saw today how talented the guy is. That's the guy I remember from high school. mean, elite arm talent. Obviously, the football IQ is there, and he's a heck of an athlete. That's what I remembered in high school. And we knew going in, if we got out of our rush lanes, the guy could make us pay, and he did that. But the coverages that we play, we got to live with that sometimes. And I think that when we're doubling receivers and chasing routes, we got to make sure that we're in our spokes. We gave up a couple of scrambles where he extended the play today, but in general, he's got a bright future in front of him. You could see that today. He's going to be a special player.
Thank you, sir.
All right.